I should say welcome back. Good evening and hello to everybody. Welcome to the second session, day 2. We promised you 30 days. 30 days, better, confident English. So this is day 2. And I'm really happy that so many of you have responded so very positively to this endeavor of the Department of Youth Services. On day 1, that is the 17th on which we started, we had around 7,159 students, to be exact, who had registered. And today we have 13,162 students who registered. That's literally doubled, and we are so very happy about this. And of the students who've registered and who paid attention to the class, who've either logged in through Zoom or even viewed it on YouTube, assignment submission has also been very amazing. 2,329 and counting. What do I mean by counting? It's increasing by the minute. We are really, truly happy. You know, that deserves a good round of applause for all my participants who are on the other end. And a thank you also. Session 2. Session 1 was on introducing yourself, or oneself as we called it. The response to the written question in the assignment, write a brief introduction about yourself, is also very good. Normally, all of us tend to do the multiple choice or objective type of questions fast because, you know, they get over fast. Right or wrong, they get over fast. But sitting to write an answer about yourself was something, you know, that I really appreciate. And I hope all of you keep up the good work of writing your descriptive answers and posting them. Those of you who do the assignments and, you know, in the Google form, fill up the Google form and submit the assignment. We are very happy. We'll go through them. And some of you are also watching it on YouTube. As our director said, you should subscribe it so that you get all your notifications of the programs organized and telecast by the Department of Youth Services. And where any query, any kind of descriptive answer, you can also post it in the comments section. We'll go through it. Let me give a quick briefing on what we did the other day. And there was one question that I thought you needed to think. The instruction was also choose the most appropriate answer. I'm highlighting this question from assignment 1. We can improve our communication in English, and the options were translate from mother tongue to English, try to learn English through the Telugu script, and think in English. 51% of you have been able to answer this rightly for the most appropriate answer. And the answer is think in English. It's very important. I repeat, we did give you the strategies of thinking in English. How can you do this? 1, I'm repeating for the benefit of those who joined us today, who would have gone through the, you know, lesson or the session on YouTube. Nevertheless, because this is important, I'm repeating. Step 1 is look around the room and name all the objects that you see as fast as you can mentally. And the language to be used is English. There might be a few words that you do not know. Note them down in Telugu, Try to ask somebody or find out from a dictionary as to what is the word in English. Then you've learned a new word. That is how we increase our vocabulary. Step 2 is frame sentences. Start with a simple construction like I am, or this is, these are, there is, and then continue naming all the objects in the room. You may not be able to name an object with I am. You have to say how you feel or what you are. But with the others, you can always name those objects. And I know this is only the first step. I'll tell you the subsequent steps that we can take, because when you say this is a watch, this is stage 1. On step, on the fourth rung in the ladder, that is if you're taking the steps, మొదటి మెట్టు కాకుండా నాలుగో మెట్టు దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళేసరికి this is a table becomes this is a strong wooden table. So I'll teach you how you can expand your sentences. Think more and more in English. Step 3 was have small conversations in English. All that you're doing, whatever you're doing, narrate it in English. Step 4, change one routine, one of your routines into English. Like reading the newspaper, which is your general habit, read an English newspaper. If you're watching news every day regularly, watch it in English. If you like watching a movie in your free time, watch a movie that is in English. So this way, one routine that you change will take you a long way. And finally, just before you go to bed, recap the day's events in English. I'm not asking you to write a diary. I'm only asking you to think, frame your sentences in English as your head touches the pillow. పడుకునే ముందు నిద్రపోతూ జోలపాట లాగా ఇంగ్లీష్లో ఆలోచించండి రోజంతా ఏం చేశారు అని. At this way, these are the strategies to think in English, and the response, most appropriate responses. When you think in English, you are bound to increase your fluency in English. Now, with this brief about what happened in the previous session, that is introducing yourself and improving how to think in English, we move on to day 2, session 2. And the session is on, it's not fun to go on announcing what the session is going to be on. So I'll ask you also to do a bit of thinking. Okay. All my viewers on Zoom and YouTube live streaming, read the following and state what these sentences do. Read it silently. I'll give you a minute's time to read what is there on your screen, and I'll open the chat box. You can tell me what this is about. Can you open the chat, please? It's open. Now, how will it be visible to me? Yeah, very, very good. Describing about somebody, about a grandmother, wonderful. Very, very quick. Oh yeah, definitely all the youngsters and probably all the learners are very good. Describing. Those of you who've written the spelling of describing as D-I-S, please check it. Describing, the spelling is D-E-S. Or this is about grandmother. I'm very happy. I think we'll stop the chat now. Stop the chat now because I've got what I wanted. I wanted you to say that this is all about describing, and the session is on describing somebody. How do we describe a person? Yeah. This one. How do we describe somebody? This function we do perform many a time. Some of them just say, he's so and so, that's it. Or if you want to say a little more, I'd like to describe this person is very energetic, finished. But then when we give such a short description, whether in writing or in speaking to somebody, or whether it, you want to hold the attention of that person, or at this point of time you're describing somebody, it's important that you know how to do it with a lot of style, how to do it in the most expressive manner. So here, describing somebody is the out. You've already read it. So I move on to the next slide. We are going to describe people. When we describe a person, what is it that we have to do? What does the person look like? How do we describe a person's looks? What is the vocabulary that we need to describe a person's appearance? Now, this is one thing we are going to learn today. And the second thing is, what kind of a personality does this person have? The physical appearance, the outer, and the person's personality, the inner. The outer and the inner, and a match between the two. And the way you say these two is very important. The better you say it, the more appropriate it is. The better you can convey it, you as a communicator stand at a better position. So describing people is what we are going to learn today. Now I have, again, on screen you see the description of the grandmother, as you said. There are 3 parts in this description. I'll read out the description because it is important. My grandmother is an old woman. Now, look at the words. That is the introduction. Whom am I going to describe? I'm going to describe my old grandmother. These are the words of Khushwant Singh when he describes his grandmother. Khushwant Singh, by the way, is a very renowned writer, an Indian writer writing in English. My grandmother is an old woman. She's short and fat and slightly bent. So as soon as, he says that, you see how he gives you the image. You can literally see the old lady. Her face is a crisscross of wrinkles. In fact, she's been this way wrinkled as far back as I can remember, with silver locks tied neatly in a plait. I have seen photographs of her being young and pretty, but that was a long time ago. She was pretty once, but now she is truly beautiful. Now, this sentence is the crux of this paragraph. She was pretty once, but now she's truly beautiful. This is describing the inner self. She wears loose-fitting salwars and kurtas and a white dupatta. She sometimes tells us of the games she used to play as a child. That seems quite absurd and unbelievable. She tells us of the time she would escape the watchful eye of her mother and go swimming in the Satluj River. Now, we have 3 parts. I'm trying to point it out: the introduction, the description, and something interesting about this old lady. Part 1, how do we describe the appearance of a person? Now, here is something that you really need to know. In my previous class, I said we can name the objects that are there in the room. We can name the people who are sitting inside the room. My mother, my father, my brother, his name is Harish, so on and so forth. But then, describing the person means talking about the person. These are called adjectives. I'm not going to be too technical in the way I'm going to talk about, words and what are they, what part of speech they are. But if you really do want to know that, we can make another video out of it. Adjectives that describe a person that are very positive. Gorgeous, beautiful, pretty, handsome, attractive, stunning, good looking, cute. Cute is a word that we use for young children, infants. Good looking is used for people who are very smart to look at. No word is really difficult here. So, actually all these are very common words. Beautiful is a common word. Pretty is a common word. The only word that I think could be difficult for you is the word gorgeous. Now take a look at this. There are also words that describe people. Some of them could be just neutral words, and some of them are words that are negative, which we use. My advice is, let's not use these negative words to describe people, because they don't give you a very good image of the person. I'm reading out the words again. Muscular, strong, short, tall, lanky, that's a new word that you learn today, stout, stocky, slender, and slim. Some of the negative words are, he's so weak to look at. Maybe nobody will appreciate that. He's so very skinny, or she is so skinny. Only bones, no flesh. Thin. I'll tell you how we substitute these negative words also. Overweight, fat. These are, people don't like to be described as overweight or fat. We say healthy baby. We don't say an overweight baby. Though, of course, a doctor would differ and say, no, the person is obese. You need to take care. You have to reduce your weight. Fat. Now, I think, words by themselves don't convey anything. So I'm going to show you pictures now. Now, what do we mean by gorgeous? Can you see the picture? Now, this is a girl, so very well dressed, neat, tidy. As it is, she's good to look at, and she has dressed up for an occasion. Now, that is called being gorgeous. I told you a neutral word like muscular, muscle-powered. And skinny. Skinny is where only there are bones and nothing much on the bones. That is skinny. Here, I put three people together to show you the difference. Lanky. What does lanky mean? The person is tall. Actually, the limbs are long. Hands and legs are very long. The person is tall, so tall and thin that we call the person lanky. Short, all of you know, I'm short. I prefer to sit and teach, because otherwise I'll reveal my height to all of you. So, that's the reason why I'm sitting most of the time. But then as a teacher, it's not really possible to do that. In the next session or in the subsequent sessions, you'll have to see me near the board. Then you can describe me as a short teacher. Well built. Well built is, the proportions are all right. Height and weight, the body mass as we call it, they are all in proportion. They are well built people. And another one, another picture for you. As I said, normally, it's an insult to call people overweight or fat, and therefore I've not even shown the face of the person. We call this overweight or obese because this is the word that we use for people such as these. Obese, OBESE, for an overweight person who's very fat, who's very plump, who's very chubby, who is very chompy. There are so many words. I'll give you all the words. Don't worry. Wait a minute. And the final one, these are words that are gender specific. Now, handsome and good looking are the words that we use when we describe men. We use pretty and beautiful when we describe women. Attractive or unattractive can be used both for men and women. We call them unisex words. You can use to say, he's an attractive person. He is an attractive person. Or she is an attractive woman. He is handsome. She is pretty. He's very good looking. No wonder he gets so many matches. She's so beautiful that when you look at her, you feel so happy because beauty in nature has to be enjoyed. She's so very beautiful. She. So these are gender specific words. Make a note of that. And the next one to describe appearance. Now, appearance is, the general height. Okay, I'm on again. Sorry, there was a short break, disruption because of power. See how powerful power is. It can stop us from talking to each other, but then The minute it comes on, we also come back with a smile. And most importantly, at this point of time, I should say, the flutters and the nervousness that all the technical team feels when something like this happens, hats off to them for handling things so very well. I'm back. So we stopped at a place where I was talking about appearances and how it's important to look at, to know how to talk about appearances. Now, here, when you describe a person, you're talking about the height and weight. But then that's not enough. You can even build up sentences on how their hair looks, what is the kind of eyes they have, what kind of face do they take on, because face is the index of the mind and we should know how to describe it. Now, here, short brown hair. I'm talking in the Indian context now. Long hair, curly hair, dark hair, gray hair as you're growing old, silvery hair when you've grown old and the entire thing is white in color, and white. Now, but here is a picture that I would like you to see as well. But then this is not hair that is totally Indian. Nevertheless, I felt that, see, when we are talking about hair, it's important to know what is the international range of hair that people have. For example, short dark hair is Indian. We call it auburn or red haired. You don't see it anywhere in India, probably. Gray, you do. Red or ginger is similar, but there's a slight shade difference. Fair or blonde, typically Western Americans and Britishers have this kind of a hair. Long hair, yes, it could be long fair hair or it can be long gray hair, anything. It shows the length, medium length, short, bobbed cuts hair. Again, women in India generally don't, have bobbed cuts, but today that is also becoming a fashion. Bald. Now, this is one thing that you should know how to say it. It is not BALD, bald kadu, bald. Oh, this is a very, very tricky sound and a very special sound to English. Oh, bald. Oh, boy. It's not boy. BOY is not boy. It is boy, bald. We again practice this sound specifically. Frizzy hair. Frizzy is, it's very strong. The hair is very strong. It is short, and to the comb also there is you need to use a lot of strength to do it. Then many of the Africans have frizzy hair, curly hair, wavy hair. We do have wavy hair. We do have curly hair. If you look at the belt of Kerala, you'll see long, dark, curly, wavy hair and straight hair. Now, this is how we describe the hair. And you can take a screenshot of this and learn all these words and even frame sentences. All of you are so good at it. And then, always adding a detail to the description will add a lot of strength to how you're describing people. For example, he looks like my father, a younger version of my father. Now, I have just given a very simple sentence. Suppose I'm describing a person who's tall and handsome, and immediately I go on to say, he looks like the younger version of a very popular Telugu hero. I'll not name anybody, you can name anybody you want. Because I do not want to take sides. Every hero is my favorite hero. So I don't want you to feel that, madam is taking sides. One is better than the other. No comparisons made. We can also say she has striking features. When we are talking about features, we are looking at eyes and nose and mouth. He has a long scar. Some people, because of something unusual in the way they look, they are immediately recognized because of their unusual appearance. So even that, if you want, you can highlight when you're describing people. So here is a brief description. I've taken 3 people. The 3 whom I've selected are my brother, Sheila, an imaginary character, okay. I said I'm describing 3 of them. One is my brother, the second is Sheila, and another one is Rahim, all imaginary characters. My brother is tall and well built. Now you're sitting in your rooms, different rooms. My advice to you is, as I read along here loudly, you can also, along with me, you can read these sentences, because that would be practicing English. You're putting, you're twisting your tongue to use the English words. That will be a very good exercise. Anyway, I cannot hear you because you're all in mute. But then you can hear yourself. You can hear me too. So read along with me, please. Will you all read along with me? Give me a sign of thumbs up if you're all reading with me. Will you all read with me? Will you all read with me? Teja has said thumbs up, so Teja is going to read along there. Raja Rao Garu. There's one Raja Rao whom I can see. Give me a thumbs up if you're all reading with me. Okay. Sentence 1, describing height and build. My brother is tall and well built. Yes, I cannot hear you, but I can see you reading. So I want all of you to say those words loudly and clearly. My brother is tall and well built. Sheila is medium height and slim. Rahim is short and overweight. Let's see how we revise these sentences also. Now here, when we say these words, we can also add describing words, which are called adverbs to these adjectives. For example, my brother is quite tall and well built. Sheila is medium height and really slim, which means that she's slightly thin, on the thinner side. And I don't want to say that Rahim is overweight, because that is slightly rude. So what do I say? Rahim is short and a little overweight. So I'm trying to tone down any negative word with an adverb. Any negative word, you can tone it down with a bit overweight, really slim, slim and slender. That's appreciating. So you can, heighten that word by saying really so and so. Quite tall, because this is tall is again a relative term. 5'7" is tall, 6 is tall, 6'1" is tall, 6'7" is very, very tall, abnormally tall. So, quite tall means that he's really tall. Now, looking at hair, my brother has short brown hair. Sheila has long hair, and Rahim has curly dark hair, dark curly hair. That's the order. The next one. Putting all these sentences together, height and weight and hair, I want all of you to read aloud with me. Try to read this. My brother is quite tall and well built. This should be the pace. Don't read very fast. Don't be very slow. Let's repeat again. Sorry to interrupt you. My brother is quite tall and well built. He has short brown hair, and I'm adding a detail. He looks like the younger version of my father. Sheila is medium height and slim. She has long straight hair, and she has very striking features, which means that she's really good to look at. And the third one about Rahim, are you all reading? Rahim is short and overweight. He has curly dark hair. He has a long scar on his forehead. I hope nobody has this, but if at all you do have, you can highlight some general feature like this. Now here, we've first spoken about appearance, the nature and texture of hair. Even we can talk about the eyes too. Normally in India, we either have dark eyes or jet black eyes or brown eyes, slightly brown eyes. Even brown eyes is very rare. But in the Western countries, you will find blue eyes, brown eyes, even greenish eyes, dark eyes. So, if they have a very striking feature that is very, very attractive, you can always describe the eyes too. And sometimes eyes are dull eyes, and sometimes they're sparkling eyes, almost, stars twinkling in the eyes. Sparkling eyes will depend upon the thoughts of the person. For example, if the thoughts are all very energetic, if the thoughts are all very vibrant, you can see them through their eyes, and that is when they have sparkling eyes. So that's for the description of a person as far as appearance is concerned. But then, appearance is not everything. It's only the external factor. In a movie, I think, it was said, you're beautiful both outside and inside. Now, I'll not again name the movie, I'll not name the movie star, but I'll just refer to that dialogue, which was very popular. So here, describing the external self is only one part. Describing the inner personality, the attitude, matters a lot. Actually, the beauty of the person is revealed only through the way we behave, only through the way we project our personality, only through the way we communicate with others. That's the reason why communication has become so very important. I know I'm going off a tangent of describing, but nevertheless, I think it is important to point out at this point in time. Why is so much of importance given to the English language or the language courses and equating them to good communication and equating them to your person? See, how we are, how we think is reflected in what we say. So what we say will in turn tell others about the type of person we are inside. So if my communication has a kind of a balance, it has a kind of politeness, it has a kind of goodwill to others, which is reflected in the words that I use, in the tone that I use. Tone is equally important. tone that I use, the words that I use, it will tell you what kind of a person I am, or what kind of a person the person is who's communicating. So, describing a person, who has a wonderful external exterior, but who is not that acceptable as far as his or her personality is concerned, you will not call the person a beautiful person. That's why I said, remember that sentence. She was pretty once, but she is truly beautiful now. Here, the beauty is not referring to the external beauty of the old lady. It's about the way she is. If you read an extension of that description, Kushwant Singh calls her a very peaceful person, a very non-interfering person, a person who's very approachable to the children, so on and so forth. So that is why that adds to the beauty of a person. So the external is very easy because we can see it. The internal is slightly tricky because we have to feel it when we describe the person. It's so easy to describe your mother because the first thing that you would say is, oh, she's a very, very lovable person. It's so easy because you can feel it. You can feel the affection all the time of your mother. So it's very easy to say, whenever I say describe your mother, the first thing that would come to you is not her external self, but what she is as a person. So let's move on to how do we describe a person? But before that, when you're talking about a person, you can sometimes, again, this is optional, you can sometimes say how you know the person. So these are a few sentences. Again, as I said, read them loud as you see them on screen. Let's also make this session, every session, a practice for making you speak aloud, whatever is on screen. Why should I be the only one to say the things aloud? I would like you also to say that. We've known each other for example, I'm describing my friend. We've known each other from our school days, which means that I can talk a lot about my friend. We met at the college. We studied together for a very few years, or we studied together at college, at the institution, whichever institution it is. We've known each other since school days. We often see each other at the club, or we often see each other at the theaters on Sundays. I've known him or her for so many long years. Now, this we can use only for friends, co-employees, acquaintance అంటే ఏంటి? అప్పుడప్పుడు ఎప్పుడో చూసిన వాళ్ళ గురించి చెప్పాలి అనుకుంటే, అందుకనే ఎవరి గురించైనా మాట్లాడాలి అనుకున్నప్పుడు, ఎస్పెషలీ ఇన్ పబ్లిక్ ఈవెంట్స్, ఈవెన్ యూ, ఇఫ్ యూ హ్యాపెన్ టు ఇంట్రడ్యూస్ సంబడి, we'll ask for a brief write-up from the person himself or herself. Please give me a brief write-up so that based on that I can talk about you. So that, remember this point, a brief write-up. Okay? Remember this because I'll talk about this towards the end of the session also. But when you're talking about members of the family, you cannot say, I've known the person for so long. That sounds slightly stupid and weird because you cannot say, I've known my mother since when? Since the time I was born. So you omit it when you talk about members of the family. And the next one is, as I said, how do we talk about the inner characteristics that are so very important? It's very important to understand the real you. Now, these are some of the adjectives that talk about positive personality, all the positive words. And again, in communication, you would be a good communicator only when you can see the brighter side of things all the time, most of the time at least. It's only when you want to do a bit of a corrective measure, we look at the negatives. Otherwise, we look at the positive side of people. And here are a series of words that tell you how you can describe a person person's personality. Okay, will you all read out the words? Affectionate. Second one, ambitious, witty, thoughtful, brave, right. And when I read out, you can also see the thing. You might be wondering why I'm simply reading out the words, why I'm not giving you the meanings of these words. I'll do that shortly. I'll give you the meaning of almost all the difficult ones that you see on screen here, what and how you can substitute it with other words. And if you have a pen, do you all have your pens and papers and notebooks? Can you put them up, please? Can you put them up? Your pens and papers. Yeah. Can I have the whole screen? As many as possible. Okay. Ha. When I talk and don't see you, it's not that good actually. Now I can see all of you with your papers and pens. I'm so very happy. Good. Good. So I'm sharing screen again. Okay. Take a look at this. These are all the words: affectionate, ambitious, witty. I've taken witty to describe my brother. I've taken affectionate to describe Sheila. And I've taken generous to describe Rahim. So take a look at that. Open-minded, compassionate. You can note down the words. I'll keep it on screen and stay silent for just a minute. Take a look at that. ఒక్క నిమిషం ఏం మాట్లాడకుండా ఉంటాను. I see some of you walking around. Please don't walk around. Teja is noting down. Very good. Okay. Now we can choose words. These are not the only words. There are so many to describe. Now, if you take, this is when I'll also talk about a book called Thesaurus. It's not a dictionary. A thesaurus is a word is given and you will have many words that are similar to this one. It does not explain the meaning. It does not support it with a sentence, but it does give you plenty of words of the same kind. So we can pick up these words and describe a person. For example, my brother is a witty, this is gone. Okay, hold on. My brother is really witty and charming. He generally says the most unusual thing, but manages not to hurt anyone. Sheila, I'm talking about Sheila now. She is very affectionate and thoughtful. She listens to anyone who tells her his or her worries. She's very approachable. As far as Rahim is concerned, Rahim is the most generous person I have met. He is willing to give away anything that belongs to him to the needy. Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about their personality. What kinds of people these three are. And, all of us are not all white. Neither are we totally black. There are always shades of gray. So there is a positive side, and sometimes we do have our negative sides to it. And especially when you know the person well, you do know both the positives and the negatives. And to bring life to the person, it is only when you can talk about both in a very balanced way do you give a wonderful description of the person. So some of the negative ones are, and how can we say them? Some of them are neutral, some of them are negative. Quiet. This does not talk much. Is silent. When some of the silent people, we don't even know what they are thinking. So, we don't even go near them. Aggressive. Aggressive nature is when the person wishes or feels that he or she is the superior person, most important person, superior to everybody else. Arrogant, very harsh, similar to aggressive. Bossy, these three are similar: aggressive, arrogant, and bossy. Cruel, I think most of us will not fall under this description of being cruel. Close-minded, that is, you do not welcome the thoughts of others. You do not say yes to anything others say, because you will say only what you think is right. And you feel that whatever you say is right. Dishonest, these are all negative words. Dishonest, somebody who's not trustworthy, somebody who does not speak the truth, somebody who will lie all the time. Greedy, wants everything for oneself. Nothing should be given to others. I want everything for myself. Rude, if I say, if somebody comes to my house and I say, why did you come? The person will not even know what to do. That is called rudeness. Selfish, I, the ego only. Unhappy, untrustworthy is again dishonest. Very boring. Some people are very boring because they can only talk about themselves. When you talk excessively about yourself, nobody wants to listen to you. Or when all of us are talking about festivals, they talk about classwork. So naturally that, friend of yours becomes very boring. Dull, is not intelligent. Moody, mood swings. One point of time you're so happy, the next point you seem so very unhappy. I'll give you a new word: dejected. So mood swings. So any person, more, I don't know whether I can go and talk to him or her, because I don't know what the mood is going to be. Gullible, somebody who gets cheated very, very easily. You just have to praise the person, they'll give away their entire thing to you. They are so very gullible. So, in that nature, people who have that nature, you just have to flatter them and say, you are the most, you are the most, you are the most, and you'll end up getting everything that they have. So, describe bigger personality that's not so positive. Now take a look. Again, this should be done very indirectly. Never a direct attack on the negative side. Choose a word or add an example. Use these words indirectly. Never a direct attack on he's such a dishonest person. No. I don't think we have a right to describe a person that way, however dishonest the person is. So here, the three people again, they have come back, the characters that I've created from the beginning: my brother, Sheila, and Rahim. My brother can sometimes be a little bossy. Because it's my brother, I take the liberty to say that he's slightly bossy. A little bossy. He wants to rule. Being affectionate makes her sometimes a very moody person, because everybody goes and tells her his or her worries. So she becomes moody. People sometimes think he is very gullible and take advantage due to this. Now, Rahim is the most generous person I have met. So I'm continuing with that and saying, because of this, people take advantage of him. So this is how I have mellowed down, I have softened, I've lowered the way I talk about the negative traits or personality of a person. Now here, so when you talk about a person, what are the things that we do? We talk about appearance. We state how long we have known the person if the person is not a member of the family. We describe the positive characteristic features of the person. And we also very subtly, koncham konchanga, takkuga, tone down chesi, we talk about the negative traits. So this is what we do. Now you can take a look at the slide. I've said these 4 things. You can take a look at them. Now that brings us to nearly 6 to 7 sentences each for my brother, for Sheila, and for Rahim. Now, as a whole, if we put all this together, we'll see what it is. My brother, his appearance, his positive character, and not so positive thing. Now, let me read it out to you. You can also read along with me. We'll go to the description of my brother as a whole, the last column. My brother is quite tall and well built. My brother has short brown hair. He is really witty and charming. He generally says the most unusual thing, but manages not to hurt anybody or anyone. However, he can sometimes be a little bossy. Now, you must have noticed that I have first noted down each item separately, and when I'm putting the whole thing together, I'm connecting it with connectors. However is a connector here. He, I need not repeat my brother, my brother, my brother for every sentence. I can use a proper pronoun. Quite tall, well built, short brown hair, witty, charming, says the most unusual thing sometimes. Now, what does this sentence do? When I have stated a personality trait, it's very important for me to substantiate, prove it with a statement, an example. Now, this table is strong. From a person, I'm moving on to a table, but don't worry. This table is strong. That's a statement. Strong table. But how can I prove that this table is strong? I say, even if I bang it hard, it will not crack. Or even if I keep a load of books that weigh 10 kgs, the table will not fall apart. So strong, the word strong is one description, but when I can prove it with an example, that is when your description becomes really strong. That is when your description will get a thumbs up signal from everybody. That is when your description will make people understand that you are a good communicator. You know how to speak. You know how to write. You know how to communicate. So proving everything that we say with an example, with an illustration, with a storyline is very, very important. That is what makes the description come alive. Jeevam postundi. It adds life to the entire thing. So the second one now is about Sheila. Again, read with me the last column, which gives the description of Sheila as a whole, because we've seen how Sheila looks. We've seen what sort of hair she has. We've also seen the qualities that Sheila possesses. Sheila is medium height and really slim. She has long, straight hair. She's very affectionate and thoughtful. She listens to anybody who tells her his or her worries. Being so affectionate makes her a bit of a moody person, though. Somebody pours out their heart and she gets very upset and unhappy. Therefore, she becomes moody. Now, see, being so affectionate, listening to others' worries, therefore makes her moody. Moody is a negative word. So, that is how we build up any description. The next one. Now, for Rahim. Rahim is also an interesting character. Rahim is short and a little overweight. He has curly, dark hair. He is the most generous person I've met, and he gives away many things that belong to him to the needy. People sometimes think he's gullible and take advantage of him due to this. Because he has this quality of being generous, people cheat him. And we have seen such characters. So, how have I been able to give a description of a person? Because I've been able to think separately about the person. And what are the separate things I've thought? I'll finish that, I'll finish my session with how you can think very clearly while describing a person. Now, shall we play a game now? It's a game that I want to play with all of you. Now here, let's play a game. We have to find out who the thief is. What do you understand by the word thief? A robber, somebody who has taken away something. Donga. Let's see, this is a game. Are you all ready to play the game? Let me see. Are you all ready to play the game? Are you listening? Yes, you all of you have understood that the thumbs up sign means that you and I are on the same page. Good. Okay. Before we start playing the game, okay, I want to tell you what this game is. We should know the rules of the game, right? First of all, let me describe the situation to you. There is a small hotel, Hotel, where we go and eat our idli and dosa, our breakfast or dinner. It's not called hotel. Chala mandi hotel antam. That's the reason why I chose this word. It's called hotel. So there is a small hotel, not a very big one, not a 5-star or a 3-star, but a normal one that you see on the roadside. Now in this hotel, people come and go. On a particular day after breakfast, breakfast is when? When do you have breakfast? In the morning. So after breakfast, the owner of the hotel sees that 5,000 rupees are lost, stolen. 5,000 rupees have been stolen from the counter. The owner naturally gets very upset. But can he leave it that way? No. So he calls his helpers. In a hotel, there are cooks and there are cleaners and there are people who serve. He calls his employees who are in the front office serving people. He calls them and says, see, it's lost. Now, how do have you seen anything unusual happening in the hotel in the morning? Can we trace the thief? So, people who serve there, each one says something. And there is one employee, I'm going to only give you the conversation that happens between the hotel manager or the owner and one employee. But then, what is the game about? The game is, I'll put on screen pictures of 5 people. Now, here it is. There are 5 people on screen. Naming them would be slightly confusing. So I've named them in a very simple manner: A, B, C, D, and E. How many people are there? Just put up 5. So of these 5 people, as the employee tells the owner of the hotel about what could have happened, what happened in the morning during breakfast time, you will have to identify the thief. I'll repeat. There have been 5 people who visited the hotel during breakfast time. These are the 5 suspects, probable thieves. Who among these, A, B, C, D, or E, who is the thief? You will have to type in the chat box after you listen to what the employee says to the manager. I will open the chat box only after you listen to them. So don't be worried about who is going to be the first to type in the chat box. Don't worry about it. Listen to the description carefully. If you're all ready, I start off. Sir, today we had only a few people having breakfast here. Most of them did not stay long. But there was one person who was sitting for a very long time at that corner in the hotel. And I think he was wearing bright clothes. And I also think that he had something red tied around his neck. He looked more like a clown. He also had a cap, I think. Coming to think of it, he did look a kind of suspicious to me because he did not order any food for a very long time and was talking to everybody who were coming inside. I think he was tall, and I also saw him standing near the counter for quite some time. But there was another person too with whom he was talking. He was tall and lanky. He had straight hair. He was moving around very quickly. He was formally dressed, and he was talking to this clown at the counter. He seemed very nervous and kept looking at everyone who were entering the hotel. Could it be him? I don't know. I really don't know. There was another man too, who stayed for a long time in the hotel. He was an old man whose face was crisscrossed with wrinkles. These wrinkles were almost hidden by a mustache, a huge one. I noticed him because he was also wearing a cap. He seemed very hungry and was counting his money when I went near him to take the order. The old man has certainly a motive to rob the money. I'm giving you a short break now. Think about these descriptions. Look at all these pictures. I'll come back to you in just 30 seconds. Yeah, welcome back. I'm now playing the role of the employee now. The old man was counting his money. Maybe he did not have enough. But all said and done, he does have a motive to take the money. He was also sitting here in the hotel for a very long time, though he did not speak to anybody at that time. Let me think. There was another man too, a man whose eyes almost popped out when you were counting the money and putting the bundle in the counter. When you took the rupee notes, he started staring at you. He seemed short and bald too. I saw him speaking to the man who seemed like a businessman with a suit and tie, sharp eyes, a drooping mustache at the counter for some time. It could be either this bald man or it could be the businessman. Let me again think and tell you, sir. Oh, now I do remember. It seemed strange then when I went to the counter to ask you for a bill. The man with the suit and the mustache rose from behind the counter and adjusting his tie, he said that he was picking up some coins, change that fell on the floor and that had rolled away beneath your table. He had such an expressionless face, and I thought that it was true that he was really picking up his coins. It did not seem strange then, but now that you are saying that the money is stolen, I think he is the man. My only thought was to find you at that time. And when I did find you, you were instructing people in the kitchen, and I forgot to tell you everything about this man who went behind the counter. So I'm sure it must be this man who picked up his coins, or who said he picked up his coins from behind the counter. And he does not live very far. We can catch him because he lives just across the street. I think I don't know anything more to say. I think this is it. It's up to you to now, catch the thief. The chat box is now open. Wow, 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 wow. Wonderful. I think this speed of chat is, in a very, very, very interesting. "30 seconds more, 30 seconds more. I'm going to close the chat box. 30 seconds more, the chat box is going to be closed. Counting down. 30, 20, 10, and 0. Stop. Now, who is the thief? I'll announce the answer. Those of you who have got it right, excellent. Those of you who have not got it right, just don't worry. This is only a game. What do we learn from this game is, if we know how to describe people, we would be able to, do a lot of communicative activity, because this is an interesting thing to do. I know all of you are waiting for the answer. And the answer is D. The man with the suit, all looking formal. See, appearances can be so very deceptive. He is the one who stole the 5,000 rupees from the counter of this little hotel owner, small hotel owner. So that's it. And again, I'm sharing screen with you. This fellow, we can close the chat box. D is the thief. Now, you must have seen I said old man, wrinkles, huge mustache, a cap, a clown, lanky person, a bald man with these two have got the red, something red along their neck and so on and so forth. I was trying to move here and there, trying to confuse you with my description and see if you are all good listeners or not. And I hope you enjoyed the game. Did you all enjoy the game? If you did, put up your hand. Did you enjoy the game? Manoj is very silent. He's still thinking. Did you get your answer wrong? Okay. And now for the next one. So now I have done a lot of describing. Now it's your turn now. You also have to learn to describe. So here are three people. I'll give you a minute's time to very quickly note down what you will say about this person. Person one. What you see here, you see a few words written here. I'll call them out. Sensible and charming. See, in a picture, you cannot understand the personality and you do not know this girl. Sarah is her name. I can only draw this much. So forgive me if I cannot really depict figures very well. Sarah is her name. Describe her physical appearance. As far as her nature is concerned, note down the words. She is sensible and charming. You can imagine a situation in which Sarah can be sensible or Sarah can be very charming. Your countdown begins. 1 minute is the time for you to very quickly note down the names. Later, in your assignment or the comment section, you can always post your full description of Sarah. I don't want you to write a paragraph. Just note down the words that you would use to describe Sarah. Time up. The second person is on. His name is Tom. Oh, you can see how Tom is, the physical appearance. Important words to note about his nature: open-minded and brave. Brave ante dhairyavantudu. Open-minded. He welcomes everybody's ideas. Just write the words, only the words, not sentences. And now, for the third person, what are you expecting? This man is a very kind-hearted person. He's very friendly, but he's also very strict. Yeah, these are the three people. And the tip for the day, as a teacher, now you'll see me working near the board. The tip is, we call it the mind map. What is a mind map? When we communicate, we want to communicate fast and we want to communicate clearly. To do that, the easiest way is to put all our thoughts on paper in the form of words. Now, describing Sarah, let's take the example of describing Sarah. We draw a box in the middle, circle, and whom are we describing? We are describing Sarah. What should we, how do we start? Mind map is when we can put all our thoughts on paper very quickly. For example, I want to describe her appearance. So, if I had to describe her appearance, how did she look? She was tall, had short hair, was well dressed. The dress was western, a skirt and shirt. Had a long face. That's it for appearance. Now, when I talk about personality, the personality of Sarah was, what did we say? She's sensible and charming. Now, these are two different words. Why do we say she's sensible and charming? She must have done something that is right at the right time. For example, whenever think of a situation, an imaginary situation, when you can say, Sarah has been very sensible. So I call Sarah sensible because she brings all her books regularly to class. Therefore, I call her sensible. Or she plans very well what to do when. For example, when she comes out to school, if she needs to buy something, she plans her route. She plans her route to school according to her needs. Therefore, she is sensible. She's charming. So how do I, imagine Sarah and then do it? Whenever she speaks to people, she speaks with a smile. That sensible she is. She knows what to bring and what not to bring. See how I'm expanding this one idea. And as a friend, I have always seen that Sarah plans her route to college. If she has to buy something, she would see that she does not go home and come back again, but on the way to her house, she would finish off all her work and go home peacefully to her house. So that's sensible she is. And she's also very, very charming. I've never seen Sarah being impolite to anybody. Whenever she talks to anyone, she is very polite. Regardless of age, she knows how to speak to elders. She knows how to speak to people of her own age. She is very polite and charming. And whenever she speaks, to add to her politeness, she also has a lovely smile on her face. So that is Sarah for you. This is a brief description of Sarah. Now, dear friends, this is called mind mapping. Whenever you want to communicate, it is important for us to know those important words with which we will communicate. So, writing them down on a piece of paper with the central idea in the middle and all the secondary ideas in the second circle and the details in the last circle. Now, this is the first circle, central idea in the first circle, secondary ideas in the second circle, and all the ideas to substantiate or prove this point in the third circle. If you can note down those words and then build up sentences, whether you speak or you write, you will be easily able to put in 75 words, 100 words, or even more. Now that's it for today. You have an assignment that follows. Assignments are always simple. Those of you who are on Zoom, if you have any queries, you can raise your hands. We'll, if anybody wants to say something, you can just raise your hand and we'll unmute you if you are on screen. And those of you who watch the session on YouTube, if you are watching it live, please post your comments. Please post your answers in the comments section. When I say post your comments, it's not about this session or that session. It is actually your answers, because all said and done, as a team of teachers here, our total interest, our absolute interest is in the fact that we want you to communicate more and more and more. So post your answers in the comment section if you are watching us live on YouTube. And those of you who are watching this session after live streaming, please go through the entire session and do the assignments and post them at your earliest. Bye-bye till the next session next week on Tuesday, same time. Bye-bye till then.